On August 20th, James Jones was sworn in as the new U.S. ambassador to Mexico. C-SPAN went to Mexico City in early September to follow Ambassador Jones during his first few days at his new post. Our coverage includes his first staff meeting, a tour of the U.S. Embassy, conversations with American businessmen in Mexico City, as well as his presentation of credentials to President Carlos Salinas. Before this appointment, Mr. Jones was the chairman and chief executive officer of the American Stock Exchange. And prior to that, from 1973 to 1987, Ambassador Jones served as a member of Congress from Oklahoma. He replaces Ambassador John Negroponte. We begin our coverage with remarks by Ambassador Jones when he arrived at the Mexico City airport on September 7th. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here with you today. My involvement with Mexico goes back 28 years, about 28 years. My experiences have been positive and exciting, and I am looking forward to my tenure as U.S. Ambassador with great anticipation. The U.S. has no other bilateral relationship as important as that with Mexico. We share a frontier of nearly 3,000 kilometers. From this geographical imperative and its implications, a broad and immensely complex relationship has evolved. Today, that relationship is more fruitful and more forward-looking than any other moment in our nation's histories. We have not, of course, resolved all of our differences, but from our joint efforts in law enforcement to preservation and protection of the environment, to intensified educational and cultural exchange in these other fields. We have established a productive dialogue and work together creatively and cooperatively as never before. Within this promising panorama, one issue stands out. The North American Free Trade Agreement is both the symbol of our new relationship and the point of departure for further initiatives. With the President heading the effort and providing form direction, I am convinced that Congress will consider and approve the Nafta this year. For my part, I will be in close and continuous consultation with the senior members of President Clinton's administration and will work with them to ensure the passage of Nafta. For we, the U.S. and Mexico, are more than asserting leadership, more than creating economic history for our two nations through the North American Free Trade Agreement. We are rising to the challenges of free trade and renewed competitiveness. We are providing other nations with an example of how cooperation can build structures through which neighbors can resolve the issues that confront them. And we are providing our children with a vision of economic prosperity and social progress that will benefit us all. For Olivia and me, this mission is like returning home. It has been 25 years since we honeymooned in Mexico. Since then, our respect and affection towards the people and places of Mexico have grown. It is a particular honor for me to represent my president and my nation at this pivotal moment, an honor that my wife Olivia and our two sons, Jeffrey and Adam, feel as keenly as I. We look forward to beginning our work here. Thank you very much. I will be happy to take your questions, but please ask your questions slowly. I'm in the process of studying Spanish, but to avoid an international conflict and to be precise, I would like to answer your questions in English. Thank you. His second day in Mexico City, Ambassador James Jones held a staff meeting with embassy personnel and took a tour of the building. The embassy in Mexico City is the second largest U.S. mission in the world. There are also 9 consulates representing 25 different U.S. agencies in Mexico to facilitate the relationship between the U.S. and Mexico. Aside from being America's neighbor, Mexico is the United States' third largest trading partner, the home of nearly 500,000 U.S. citizens, and the travel destination of an estimated 5 million American tourists annually.
This the way? You help me get there. That's the reception area. Okay, here. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Well, I tell you, you couldn't have had a better weather welcoming to Mexico City than what we've received. Good to see many of you again. Thank you for meeting me at the airport. And what I'd like to do is kind of at least get a preliminary understanding of your view of the problems that we have to deal with here, and how we might go about solving those. Let me just tell you briefly what I'm planning to do in this first month. Obviously, the credentials we will present Friday. Tomorrow we meet with Minister Solana, and then a number of other meetings. This afternoon, I believe, we'll be going to one of the trade shows and seeing firsthand how lowering tariff barriers and opening markets in this country is good for business in the United States. Next week, what we would like to do is to get as thoroughly acquainted as possible here at the embassy and with the as many of the cabinet officers as possible in the Mexican government. And then Alec Watson is having a chiefs of mission meeting of the hemisphere back in Washington the 15th, 16th, and 17th. Because of the Grito, I will miss the first day and a half of those meetings, but we'll fly down and be there for the last day and a half or so of the meetings, and then we'll spend the rest of the week of the 20th in Washington calling on former colleagues in the Congress to obviously discuss Nafta. There's been a lot of misinformation about NAFTA. The opponents have spread fear, and they've spread it at the grassroots level, that somehow if you seek to compete in the international market, particularly in Mexico, that's somehow going to cost their constituents jobs. And we have not really gotten the side of the story out that is talks about the benefits of NAFTA. Ross Perot is, in my judgment, running for president in 1996. This looks like a very convenient issue. And I will tell you from my 14 years in Congress that there is a great temptation to respond to whatever the emotion of the moment is, and that trade is always one of those things where protectionism is just below the surface, and the easy thing politically to do is to come out against opening up trade and lowering barriers, because there is this fear that somehow the United States cannot compete. I really believe in the message I want to get across to my colleagues. If you look at the history of the United States, those politicians that have succumbed to the expedient political action in trade policy and have gone for protectionism have really regretted that. If you go back to Smoot-Hawley, that was what made the Great Depression great. It brought international commerce to a halt. Every time we have sort of inched toward protectionism, it has ended up biting us. And I think our job, and one of the main missions that I think we have to do here, is to make sure that we do everything possible to open up markets that create jobs in the United States. We have to help those companies, whether they're American companies or international companies, that are creating jobs in the United States. And I believe that NAFTA is going to create jobs in both countries and going to help both countries. But we have to get this message across. So I'm going to spend the week of the 20th in Washington with my former colleagues, talking about the facts, talking from my own political judgment of what is good politics. And I've already talked to one of my colleagues who is one of the more senior people in the House of Representatives, and basically said that there's a long time between now and 1996, and that if we are foolish enough to make a bad call on NAFTA in 1993, that those who supported that are going to find great retribution at the polls in 1996. And I really firmly believe that, because the backlash in the United States, I think, will be great. And it won't just be in trade terms, it'll be in other terms. So after I get back from Washington, then we're virtually here to stay. Hopefully a lot of delegations will be coming here to see what's going on in Mexico. I've been having a relation with Mexico for 28 years, and what I sense about this government for the first time in the 28 years that I've been coming here is, from the president through his cabinet, really has a sensitivity and a compassion and a sense of oneness with the people of Mexico. And I think that's very, very important, because that's what every politician in the United States really wants to do, is to help their people. And I sense that that's really what's going on here. In the process of that means they're going to be a better neighbor for us, and we have to be a better neighbor for them. So we've got a big job ahead of us to get facts out and to assist in developing this relationship, this partnership, as I call it. And I'm anxious to get with it. So what I'd like to do is to start and find out a little bit about each of you, what you do, what you have been doing, and then tell you a little bit about what my style and the way I like to build a team, and then we'll go from there.
Good. We're going to try to do this in such a way that it doesn't wear you out. It's such a big place.
Yeah, what I want to do is to meet as much as I can in this section, but eventually I want to get through the entire group and then to the various consular offices as we go around the country.
There's our mail operator.
Showing you what the barn, where it all begins.
Yeah, show us what you do here, how it's processed through, and all
okay.
that.
I'll wait here. I'll wait here.
Okay. Why don't we lead the way to the
Certainly,
barn?
yes. Right this way, sir.
The barn is where our visa applicants wait to be interviewed. They lined up. Some of them got on at 4 o'clock this morning.
This is the
And,
more uncomplicated part of here. You'll
Now-
see the barn here in just a minute.
Okay.
We'll begin the process.
Morning, how are
Good
you?
morning. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Por favor, pase de este lado.
How are you?
How are you?
Just wait. And watch
Morning.
your step, please.
Now, tell me now
All right.
who these folks are, and
This is commonly referred to as a barn, and it really is a big waiting area for those people who wish to apply for visas to be seated and to be organized into rows, so they may then go into the interview area, have the interview conducted, and then come back in here and wait for the return of the passports after the visa has been issued. The process can take anywhere from perhaps on a good day 45 minutes to an hour and a half or something like that, depending upon the system and flow of applicants. 2 on a summer day when there's a big rush and we fill this up perhaps 3 times, it can take a little bit longer than that. What we do is open up the barn at 6 o'clock in the morning to allow the applicants to come in and be seated and fill out the application form. And then they are brought in by rows, and as those rows are vacated, other people waiting on the street come in and fill them, and we move along in the system and keep everyone in order and try to keep good crowd control so that it's done in an orderly fashion.
in the interviews, what are you looking for?
Okay, in the
Return to Mexico.
yes, exactly. That's it. Ties to the country of Mexico, something that will ensure their return after the visa has been issued and after the period of stay in the U.S. They will be coming back to Mexico.
Okay. Now, the officers who do the interviewing, are these, where do they come from and how long are they in those positions?
These are vice consuls who serve a 2-year consular tour in Mexico City. They will ordinarily stay in this section for 1 year, having been trained at the Foreign Service Institute in consular matters to include visa adjudication, visa approval. They will then arrive and go through a training period here, and they'll be placed on the line to conduct the interviews. Their time here is generally about a year in this section. There's a little bit of flexibility there, but generally a year in this section. Then they will go to another job in the consular section, as well as a rotational experience into another section of the embassy to help.
Something that's very unique. to
Yeah, that's
Mexico.
what I understand.
And you were talking this morning about using junior officers and the talent we have. This gives us an opportunity, them an opportunity actually, to show that they can do something in another area. If they're, and it's a wonderful rotation program. So far it's been successful. And most officers get their first choice. They do political work or economic work or uses. They do a 4-month rotation, and in that period they're evaluated. So they leave with some new experience and another report for their file, which is certainly helpful when you're going through the tenure process.
Now,
Can I ask, given the number of people here, what's the average amount of time that an individual can have to process these applications? interviews. I think it must be a job of incredible
You're talking about
pressure.
the interview itself.
Yes, for your office.
Yeah,
The
just-
2
pressure
minutes?
must
Yes,
be overwhelming.
yes.
2 minutes.
Generally 1 minute to 2 minutes, perhaps a little bit longer for a more involved visa applicant situation.
Another thing, perhaps not unique to Mexico, because I think they're doing it at other large missions, but when the people are assembled here, we have what we call rovers, and these are officers.
They're called what?
Rovers.
Rovers, yeah.
And these officers will come out here 6 at a time, 4 or 6 at a time,
Yes.
and go up and down the aisles and pick out the likely good cases, so we can move them along and get those people out and bring some more people in from the street, because the objective here is to bring them in from the street.
Because sometimes the lines actually go into the street.
Oh, sometimes the lines go 1, 2, 3 blocks down, another block, and then back to the embassy again. That's during the season, though.
Right.
That's we're talking for.
So when they start in the lines, they're brought in and put in these rows, and they come through there. And what are the windows there?
The process right here at window number 1 is when an applicant has been roved. That is when, as Ms. Mellon said, that applicant looks most likely for a visa. The interview is very, very brief. It doesn't require a more extensive interview inside, so that person can come immediately to window 1, and we can get a reasonably quick turnaround based upon them being roved.
Okay. And then otherwise, they come in and go in there for the interviews.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, it gets pretty warm in here in the
Oh,
summertime.
yes, it certainly can be in summer, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fans help, but
But this was
a
the
good
only
day.
alternative was to have
or to have them in the open.
have it much worse. That's
And it would be
why.
terrible during the rainy season, or at least it does keep the sun off their heads. So it's some protection. It's not luxurious, but it works.
Now, are these the young man behind? Is he a junior Foreign Service officer, or is he a
No, he's a national.
No, he's a Foreign Service national because the decision has already been made
already been
by
made,
a Foreign Service officer that's you see in the row over there.
Now, is this young woman, or
Yes.
they're back to us? She's a Foreign Service.
Yes, she's a Foreign Service officer. That's correct.
Now let me go meet her.
Okay, very good.
And she.
Yes.
All right.
This way.
All right, we don't. Anyway, they'll hit you.
Hi, how are you?
Ambassador Jones.
How are you?
This is Mark Dietman.
My wife, Olivia Jones. Now, how long have you been in post?
About 6 months.
Your first assignment? What were you doing before that?
I was working for American Airlines as a marketing analyst.
Is that right? I'd love to know about what you're doing here and how you go about it. When you're finished, you go ahead and finish with this.
Mari is the daughter of Jeff Dietrich.
She is?
Yes.
Oh, really?
So it's our only family
Excuse me.
couple,
Go ahead.
so to speak, here.
Now, they would be Mexican nationals. They don't.
That's correct. It would be. That's my wife.
Sus ingresos, por favor. No, no está bien. Por favor, de poner y esperar su Gracias.
Let me-
Looking for is easy approvals.
Now, how do you spot that? By the application?
It's a little bit by appearance, a little bit by what they say they do. They've got documents with them that prove that they say they do what they say they do. And basically, I'm just looking for indicators of financial solvency and strong ties to Mexico. This is where I'm just looking for people who are very easy to prove. Just spot them a mile away and they're probably okay to give a visa to. And also people who need very routine work visas. Like, for example, this young man he's a flight attendant. So and he's probably had one before. So it's very easy to just go ahead and renew his visa and send him on his way.
With the Mexican Airlines, or?
That's right. ¿Trabaja con mexicano o con Aeroméxico? ¿Necesita visa de tránsito también o solo de titular?
No, la de turista, es de turista.
¿Es de turista?
Usted solicitaba de turista.
¿Quiere renovar su visa de tripulante?
Todavía no.
Also, if somebody's had a prior visa, you can probably trust them with a real visa, like a tourist visa as well. It's not a problem usually.
Good to meet you. Good luck. Hey. Yeah.
Young Princess Mauricio, he's going to go to the States and study.
Oh, wonderful. Where? Where?
Wisconsin.
Ah.
He and his brother. So welcome to Mexico, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good luck. Buena suerte.
Gracias.
Yeah, no, Thank you. All right, straight through here.
If I may, just let me explain a little bit about what we're doing here. The lines that you saw seated on the benches now come in, and they go down and line up, and then they are called to the windows as the windows become available for another interview once interviews are completed. Once they receive the visa, they're given a ticket, and then they wait out in the other side of the so-called barn and just await the processing of the visa. Their numbers are called, their names are called, and then they pick up the visa and then they're able to leave.
So, in other words, if they showed up at 6 o'clock this morning, or earlier, and they get through the line and get here, and they get approval, will they get that? Will they get their visa today? Or will
Yes. Always one-day service.
Oh, okay.
Always one-day service. We pride ourselves in that, even though it takes a lot of people working together and all the time to be able to do that. Okay, and then those that are not given the visas, which unfortunately there are a number of those, they are able just to leave by the same exit.
Okay.
This is not a purpose-built building. It was designed,
It's not
a purpose-built building. It was not designed with
Yeah.
this in mind. That's why. This is so narrow right here.
Yeah.
And we really can afford very little privacy during the
That's what I was noticing, yeah.
And, but it was designed for another program, and sort of it was a fait accompli when we decided, we had to move out of, we were in the main building, the visa section was in the main building, and moved over here in January.
January
this
8th,
year.
that's right.
Interesting.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. Let's take a look inside there. This is the heavy door. Let me do this and pull the door down. Okay.
So these are all the officers back here.
Hey, let's
Yeah.
start introducing some of the officers.
Hi.
This is Damien
Jim.
Pico.
How do you do, Mr. Ambassador?
How are you?
Very good.
How long have you been here?
About 2 months.
Really? Where was the first assignment?
Yes, it is.
What were you doing before?
Before I was with the Department of Energy, I was an engineer.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you like this? Tough work.
Oh, this part is pretty rugged, but it has its advantages. Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
What would you say your the ones you accept to the ones you reject ratio?
That kind of depends on where I'm sitting. Like here, this is secondary. These are people who have been here before, and my ratio here is a little bit higher.
Of the rejections?
Yeah. At the window, I probably accept maybe, at the other windows, I probably accept maybe 70%.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't have, I say that with caution because since I'm new, I really don't have a good feel yet.
Sure, sure. Well, good. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. How are you? What?
Hi.
Jim Jones.
Nice to meet you.
When you investigate, are you interviewing people here too at the window, or how do you go about your business?
Well, we have an office in the main building, and usually we do the investigations there. If it's going to be like a simple interview, we can do it here. But if it's going to be more complicated, or it's a more complicated case, then we take the people to the office and we talk to them there and we do the investigation there.
Okay.
What types of fraud are you looking for?
Well, here in visas, people that is applying for visas with fraudulent documents, false job letters, false pay receipts. In this case, we're trying to see if this is the same person. He's from Kathmandu, Nepal.
Wow.
So this may be
That's a
something
close
more.
call. That's
Yeah.
pretty, yeah.
And,
What's your guess on that? My guess would be no.
Well, I'm not sure yet.
Oh, okay.
That's why we have her here. That's right.
That's why I'm here. So in visas, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, good luck. Good to meet you. Thanks very much. Thank you. How are you? Jim Jones.
Chris Hagerstrom.
Chris, how are you? Where are you from?
From Washington, D.C.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm second tour. I just came in from Lima.
And you've been here how long?
3 months?
Yes.
That long?
Yeah, that's right.
That long? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's, June, wasn't it? Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Now, what are you doing right now?
Right now I'm trying to issue a visa to a Czechoslovakian. So I have to look up in our reciprocity book to see how long of a visa and whether I have to send cables before I can prove it as a scientist.
Now, with the all the publicity about the Sheikh and those who came into New York for the bombing. Has that put more or less pressure on you, and how do you relate to that? People getting visas to come to the United States.
Yeah, as long as we have our system up, we don't worry so much about it. But we do get nervous. I do personally when the system goes down, when we can't verify.
System is our lookout.
As our lookout system, because when we have to go to microfiche, you can understand how someone can miss something on microfiche.
Right. Right.
It's
Is
very
that
easy.
much of a problem? Is that something we need to look into?
It is in the
about-
summer.
It is in the summertime.
Yeah.
We have antiquated equipment, and well, Jim can explain it better than I.
We have a system that will be online called the distributed name check, and that should be operational by the end of the first quarter of the new fiscal year. So we're
That'll make a big difference.
keeping our fingers crossed that that commitment and funding will serve us.
They tell me every time I call that it's still there, so
Right.
I'm holding them to it.
Yes.
Let's see if we can move it along. You got a big job. Thank you very much. How are you? Jim Jones?
Glad to meet you. I'm Greg Adams. I'm here from Guadalajara
Really?
for the day. I'm
Okay.
studying MRB.
How long have you been in Guadalajara?
Oh, 3 months.
Is this your first tour?
First trip, first visit to down here.
Okay, well, welcome.
Okay.
I'll see you in Guadalajara.
Okay.
Gracias.
Hi, how are you again?
Nice to meet you again.
Yes, Jill. Olivia Jones?
Nice to meet you.
Jill Johnson.
Now, where are you from, Jill?
I'm from California, the San Francisco Bay Area.
Really? That's a tough place to leave.
Yes.
Our older son went to school at Stanford, and that's the hardest part about leaving
Oh,
that
I
part
know,
of the
it's
country.
beautiful. Lucky soul. I went to UC Davis.
Oh, did you?
A
Really?
little further inland, a
Yeah.
little easier to concentrate.
Yeah. Is this your first assignment
Yes,
in the
it
Foreign
is.
Service?
Yes, it is.
You've been here how long?
About 6 months.
Well, very
So
good.
long enough to be settled in and
What's the biggest problem you face every day?
getting out of bed. I don't have daily problems. No.
Okay.
Jill is a rotational officer. Some of the
Oh, really?
officers assigned here will spend 1 year in consular and 1 year in another
Right.
function, and Jill will be the personnel officer in 6 more months.
Yes.
Good. Good. Well, congratulations. Look forward to working with you.
Me too.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. How are you? And just say hello.
Simone Wedemore, awfully nice to meet
Good.
you.
My wife, Olivia Jones.
We'll overlap 2 days. I'm almost out of here.
Oh, really? Where will you go next?
Amsterdam,
Oh, really?
which is capital of my home country.
Wow. Good luck and good luck in the future.
I'm sure you will have a wonderful tour here in Mexico. You know Mexico.
Yes. Yes. Good. Great.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
What is your
I'm
name?
Al Streeter.
Where are you from, Al?
I'm Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Okay. First tour?
No, I'm a second tour officer, leading a rotation. I was in the political section. I have
Olivia
a year here.
Jones.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
Everything going well here?
Well, a day at a time.
Okay. Thank you.
Here you are, sir.
Great.
Thanks a lot. Okay, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to have a change of pace now, sir.
All right.
We're going to go to a place that I think it's a morale-related activity. It's called our gym, our fitness center,
Uh-huh.
which was established about 1.5 years ago by the Embassy Recreation Association.
Meet you, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you. You run
How are
this?
you? How are you?
Good. Good. How are you? Thank- Yeah, Carol Fishback?
Yes.
From where?
Well,
Where-
most recently Washington, D.C.
Now, what do you do?
Name sounds
Well, I know a Carl Fishback. I know different fishbacks around the country. Yeah.
good for the ancestors.
Now, what do you do here besides this?
My husband works for the Foreign Commercial Service.
Oh, really? Great. Great. Well, I'm looking forward to working with them.
Mr. Ambassador, one of our great security guards.
Ah, how are you? Jim Jones. What's your name?
Sergeant Glenn, sir.
Good to meet you. How long have you been here?
A little over a year now.
He's one of the stars of the Embassy softball team, too. He's running. Lynn, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. I'll see you here. Thank you.
You want to give him some sign-up sheets?
We'll take care of that when he comes in.
All right. All right. This is part of the
Hi, how are you? Jim Jones.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
This
My
is
wife,
Carlos,
Olivia
the
Jones.
ambassador.
Pleasure to meet you.
Ambassador. We're going to Carlos's office, and I'll let Carlos introduce you around.
Now, he had a speech today, right?
Yes. He just snuck in there. There he is.
How was your speech?
My speech was a bit delayed, so I was very concerned that I was not going to be here, but thank goodness we all got it all together.
Who was the audience?
The audience is Desarrollo Joven, who had written Secretary Brown, and they wanted him to come over. It's basically a youth group from the university.
Sure.
And they're trying to basically talk about Mexico of the future, what they're going to inherit in the 21st century. So,
My wife Olivia.
very nice meeting you. Welcome to the commercial section.
Well, I was telling them at the country team meeting that Bill Frenzel and I sponsored the legislation to develop the Foreign Commercial Service, and I'm very proud of what you're doing here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We heard, and we had already, Washington is still aware, and it's not always that Washington keeps tabs on those things, but they were aware of it. They told us, you're getting one of the founding fathers.
Okay.
So, let me, I
thought Susan Schwab did a very good job there in that.
Agree. Well, here's...
Have they named her successor? I probably should know that.
Not really.
Okay.
We have somebody doing, acting as a consultant, Laurie Fitzpagata, and we expect her to be the next person, but at this time we don't really know.
Okay.
Let me, this is our secretarial pool. Really, we don't have dog and pony shows on this side.
Hi, how are you? Let me say hello to you. What is your name?
My name is Reina.
Oh, very good. Good to meet you, Reina. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you, buddy. How are you?
To Mexico.
Thank you very much. We're delighted to be here. And what? Gina?
Yes.
Good to meet you. Thank you. My wife, Olivia.
These are superstars that, in spite of multiples of the original workload, continue to carry. And here's our person in charge of automation and our driver who also is
Hi.
Angeles Avila. How are you?
Good to meet you. Thank
nice
you.
To meet you. Welcome to Mexico.
Thank you. My wife, Olivia, was here. There she is.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi.
Ernesto Miranda.
Good Ernesto, good to meet you. Now you're doing, what do you do here?
I'm a trade specialist and I'm also a system administrator.
Good.
In charge of our database and our systems, computer systems.
Good.
She's very humble, but she has connected Mexico with the rest of the world. Basically, we have email now, we have access to the commercial information management, so we can actually access databases everywhere,
wonderful.
And people can access our database.
That is great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Mexico.
Thank you.
She has worked 25 hours a day for the last year.
Oh, thank you.
That's one trade aid recruiting for one of our events. As you can see, we...
Hi. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
What are you working on?
Well, I'm putting some of data in Sims.
It's a commercial information management system. It's a
Ah.
database that Americans
Oops, excuse me, dear.
access to find out the profile of Mexican companies.
Great.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Here's one of our trade specialists.
Hi, Jim Jones.
From Dallas.
Nice to meet you. Alan Patch.
Alan?
Dallas.
My wife, Olivia.
Pleased to meet you.
How often do you get down here?
Not very often. I have the good fortune of being here this month. But I'm just learning all that I can about the foreign side of the U.S. and FCS, and really enjoying getting to know people. And
Now you do you have an office like we have in Oklahoma City, where
yes, of course.
your whole
Yes.
job is to promote
Right. So
exports and trade for our companies overseas?
Right. We work hand in hand with the trade specialists here, and we send companies down to them, and they're able to set them up with good appointments and get them.
You
into
work
the market.
closely with Governor Richards and her people?
We work with the state of Texas. Yes,
they're-
we have
they're
a close
doing-
relationship
yeah.
with them. Yeah.
Well, Governor Richards and that whole operation in Texas has just done a fantastic
Yes.
job of promoting trade and really just done a great job.
In fact, I call on their Austin office usually about once every other month.
Good.
We work with them together on trade shows and things.
Good. I'm going to be in Dallas. I think I'm speaking to their annual meeting of the Chamber of Commerce in November.
great.
So
Great.
I may see you then.
We'll look forward to seeing you.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
you.
Mr. Ambassador, our commercial attaché, Don Cooper Bahar.
Very nice
Hi.
to meet you.
What is your name?
Dawn.
Dawn, okay. And what's the last, Olivia?
Cooper Bahar, double barrel.
Cooper, okay, good.
Cooper Bahar.
That's great.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Really nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. Now, this is going to be an area of particular interest of mine because I've said that one of our chief responsibilities is to help develop jobs in the United States by trading elsewhere. So,
And the demand for our help is great.
yeah, yeah,
Tremendous interest here.
good.
And all they need is, you know, the right information and the right support, and I think there's just fabulous potential.
I do too. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Don.
Some of our trade specialists.
Hey, how are you? Now, what do you do here, mostly?
Well, I keep track of all the ADSs,
Those are the matches, the
Right.
agent distributor.
services, and I follow several industries as the rest of my colleagues.
Good.
We're
How long have you
reporting
worked here?
14 years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Going to the 15th.
Well, very good. Delighted to meet you and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Can I share with you
Yes.
a sampler of the information products
Please,
we're putting
absolutely.
together so you get an idea if you ever do reference? Oh, you met
We were-
Brian Grissom?
I sure did. Brian, good job this morning.
Thank you. Will you have a chance at some point to see the fun part of the office at Trade Center?
I hope so. I plan to. And what do you mean the fun part?
They're the ones that carry out the promotion. So our director there, Bob Miller, is in charge of
Are we?
putting together
Now,
the
what
events.
is what are we going to this afternoon?
You're going to a show, but it's done by a local promoter,
Okay.
a private sector promoter. And that show is basically focusing on construction materials and housing in Mexico.
And how many U.S. companies?
We have 15 registered U.S. companies and then approximately 30 others that are in association with Mexican companies. So there's the majority of the national presence is American.
I should think that with what's going on in Mexico, the construction-related industry in the United States ought to have a lot of opportunity here.
That's correct. And we're having a basic participation or a core participation by the U.S. Department of Commerce in Constructo. And it's a construction show in Monterrey.
Good.
And there are actually 10 companies are being invited to actually build on sites that are being donated by the organizer of the event to
Really?
show the American product being assembled and then the final product.
Now, is this my copy or?
That's your copy.
Okay,
That's your copy.
very
And
good.
it has the brochure here, and that gives you an idea of what what we give American businessmen coming in. These are the services that are available, and then this gives you an idea of what the information product looks like.
Now, what do you do as an outreach program? Do you seek out American companies to give this information, to encourage them to come here, or do you respond to their request, or
Right.
both?
Well, we do both. We do both in participation in conferences and in meetings of the industries and various. We let them know what the services are, that this office is here to support them and encourage them to come over. And then there are many who already know more or less of our existence and they demand it. So basically it's both ways.
If you were an American businessman that hasn't done anything internationally, would you say it's too much trouble to go to Mexico, or are there real opportunities?
There are definitely real opportunities. We have first a tremendous, probably second to none in terms of corporate citizenry here. We have 4,500 companies, U.S. capital companies, working
Really?
already in Mexico. So if the proof is in the tasting, there it is. In addition to that, we just have we're busier than I would say all posts in Western Europe, and that's because people. Businessmen know that there's opportunity here.
Well, this economy is growing better.
Our orientation is to have American companies that sell into Mexico.
That's correct.
principally. This is all organized to have benefits back home.
Oh yeah, now this creates the jobs back in the United States.
Right. The exporter definitely does create, but we also now have research that says that almost everything you do in Mexico, because of Mexico's very high propensity to import from the States, almost anything that is growth in Mexico translates into growth in the U.S., which is not true, unfortunately.
You may have worked on this Detroit diesel, but I was fascinated by that because what they're doing is they're taking, as I understand it, taking old motors and engines in Mexico, moving them to Detroit, where they're being rebuilt by Detroit workers, then sent back into Mexico, where more value is added, so you have an increase in jobs both in Mexico and in the United States. Did you all work on that?
Actually, Brian and other members of the team as well also participated in supporting that. And obviously, they had their own plan, so it's not we don't seek to intervene.
Sure.
We seek only to support that for which they need government support.
Great. That's the way it's supposed to work. Great.
Well, this is us.
All right. Well, thank you.
Commercial library, Carlos?
The commercial library is now at the Trade Center. That's why I'm encouraging him to visit.
We'll be there this afternoon, right? No, that's not.
We're going to Exhibimex, which is
Now, where is the?
It's in Liverpool 31.
It's about a mile.
And
okay.
we will invite you. I don't want to take any steam from Bob Miller's presentation. He would love to have you opening several of the shows because it gives the Mexican participants and of course the American people participating in the show the opportunity to see the ambassador and to show them what good things are happening on the trade side.
Look forward to working. Good job. Keep it up.
Thank you for coming over and joining us.
Thank you so much.
We're going to walk through your section again, Carlos, okay? This is the way out.
All right.
No, not quite.
Right here? Okay. Bye-bye.
They did that very quickly.
How about that?
Great.
To the right. To the right. We're going to Foreign Agriculture Service now.
All right.
Hello, Melinda. We have the ambassador here.
Hi. How are you?
Melinda Salyer.
Hi, Jim Jones. Hi, how are you?
Ambassador, welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Melinda?
Yes, Melinda Salyards.
Oh, good to meet you. My wife, Olivia.
Oh, hello. Fine. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Ambassador, nice to meet you. My secretary.
Great. Now, how long?
She's another person who abandoned it.
Excuse
me. Somebody else.
How long have you been here?
A year now.
And where were you before that?
Washington. Yes, this is my first time with agriculture overseas, but I don't know if you're aware, they have us in Washington about 4 years before we go overseas.
Which area were you with?
In agriculture. First I was in horticulture and tropical products, and I worked for Mr. Barnes there. And then I was in international trade policy in the Western European group.
I see.
Fighting the cap.
I was going to say that was not an easy assignment.
No, it wasn't. It was
just think that you may have another 20 years and you can go back and the problem will still be there.
Same policies. I would like to introduce you to the other people in our office. Ambassador Jones. It's kind of amazing. Jose Luis. This is Ambassador Jones. And
hi, how are you?
Jose Luis Cruz.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you. I have a wife. Olivia Jones.
Hi. Olivia Jones. Jose Luis is our livestock specialist.
Really?
Coffee and honey.
8 years?
Yeah.
Well, you hear from the cattlemen in Oklahoma and Texas then, don't you?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. They came, did you? Oklahoma team.
Oklahoma team came earlier this
really?
year.
Yeah. And what was their interest?
Many areas. Livestock is one of them. Yeah.
Now, you would not be in charge of the screwworm operation here?
Well, we have here animal plant health inspection.
The APHIS.
Okay.
Another agency working out of the embassy here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are basically involved in analysis of economic developments here at the embassy.
Good. Well, good to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Ambassador. Sorry.
Oh, hey, hello again. Yes, how are you?
Yesterday we met at the airport. Dick Barnes. Nice to meet you. I'm the Minister Counsel for Agricultural Affairs. Welcome to agriculture. I was with a couple of folks from the press, and I've stood them up once or twice before. Didn't mean to. But,
no,
don't do that. That's right.
Don't do that.
And so I was with them now. It's very good. You met Melinda.
I sure did.
We haven't met the other side of the office.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
And maybe I can.
You had a very good briefing this morning. I appreciated that.
Thank you very much. We enjoy what we're doing down here enormously. And we do. I appreciate your comments on, the support for the free trade agreement.
Yeah.
We think in agriculture.
I think in agriculture, it again is a win-win situation.
That was the last question that was asked to me by the press.
Is that right?
Is this a zero-sum game? And they based a little bit on the Secretary's remarks of last week when he was here. I think you're probably aware Secretary Espy spent 2 days down here. He inaugurated our largest food exhibit ever from the Foreign Agricultural Service overseas, 215 companies. and I think that in and of itself is an expression of the opportunities that exist down here for U.S. agriculture.
Yeah.
Over 70% of the product is value added or higher value. Things that previously were not even allowed into Mexico, but because of the opening that they've done themselves, has made a big difference.
Well, that's bound to have created new jobs in the United States.
We consider 20,000 jobs for every $1 billion in additional exports.
I was asking the question at the briefing today. We have about almost $4 billion of U.S. agricultural exports to Mexico now, and I asked him what it was 5 years ago before they started to loosen up. It was about half that. So,
and it varied, as I mentioned this morning. If they needed rice, if they needed wheat, if they needed corn in that given year, that's what got in. Everything else was controlled. They alone, independently, they, the Mexicans, have taken enormous steps to open their borders to
American agriculture,
and to other agriculture, not just American. But we have been the major beneficiaries of that. Something like 75 to 80% of all of Mexico's agricultural imports come from the United States of America.
See, one of the great falsifications of the people who are opposed to NAFTA is they consider that the jobs that exist now in Mexico and the jobs that exist now in the United States will remain the same. And that's the false premise, because when you have a growing economy both places, you're going to expand the jobs in both places. Olivia has a great illustration.
I said it was like a family saying, well, we'll only have one child because if we have two children, we have to love each one half as much. That's crazy. It doesn't work that way. It expands. It grows. You know.
And it does. Secretary Aspie made the point that our Economic Research Service studies on this show a growth, potential growth of upwards of $2.5 billion per year annually for U.S. agriculture coming this way, and between $600 and $700 million going the other way. Now, somebody might say that's lopsided, but one has to be mindful of the fact that if you look at the relative sizes of Mexican agriculture, that's a very important increase for them.
For the Mexicans too.
And I think that's the way we need to look at it. Not everybody, sir, is a believer in NAFTA and U.S. agriculture, I can assure you.
No, that's true. And again, a lot of it's out of the fear, I think.
Unknown. My view on this has been, people ask me, what do you do in these circumstances? My personal view is the best way to deal with that is to invite these people down to come here, whether they're directors of agriculture from the various state departments of agriculture, whether they're industry leaders, whatever it might be. Show them firsthand what the Mexican situation is, and try to be as helpful in explaining it to them as possible, because many times their notions, as you said, there's so much misinformation in the United States. After they've seen it, we've had some congressmen down here, by the way, who have indicated gee, this is not what we expected from the information that we hear back in the United States. So I think that alone is a very useful instrument or tool in trying to reinforce it.
Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Let me take you to the other part of our office, if I may.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Nice. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. Me too. Now, what's the deal on the sugar? Is that really as threatening?
Again, as I said, we like to get people down here. The sugar industry is concerned. I don't know how familiar you are with the agreement, but it's a very complex agreement that has certain stages and quantities, stages in terms of time. 7 years is the magic number here in terms of what Mexico has to become what is called a net producer of sweeteners. And Mexico has had to import over the past several years now very substantial quantities of sugar. It privatized its sugar industry in 1990.
Yeah, it's been, but since then, it's
been... And the sugar
sugar
industry is entirely decapitalized. There are 7 firms right now, either in receivership or in bankruptcy. Another 12 are very, very weak economically. And really, the economic condition of the sugar industry is not very good down here at this particular point. We, our data, and we've had some experts come down from the United States that have worked on this. Their reports show that that it's very, very unlikely that Mexico could move forward quickly enough to become into a net exporter status, which would then basically, according to our industry's concerns in the United States, sort of open the floodgates.
Yeah.
There is one other issue that needs to be addressed in here, which is a big concern to the U.S. sugar industry, and that is the question of whether corn sweeteners, high fructose corn syrup,
Sure.
is included in the definition of sweeteners. And there's some discussion, some debate on that right now. The U.S. sugar industry's view is that if Mexico is able to import corn sweeteners or produce them here, that the soft drink industry, which consumes roughly 25% of our all the sugar in this country, if they could move over to corn sweeteners, that would enable them to consider the replaced sugar as an export item, and this is of a serious concern, of considerable concern to the U.S. sugar industry, and that's what we're working on, is to try to show them what our perspective is as to what would actually happen in that regard.
Does that issue on the corn sweeteners need to be?
We're working on it. Yes,
it's still being negotiated.
It's still being negotiated. We addressed that. Secretary Espy addressed it with a number of people last week when we were here. There's. It's an issue that we're still discussing.
During his second day in Mexico, the ambassador took a tour of a construction trade show where he talked with several U.S. businessmen about the challenges and opportunities they face south of the border.
Delighted to be here to see this.
Nice to have you. We are an association quite similar to the Home Builder Association of the United States. And this exhibition is held once every year. With the opportunity to mix what is going on in the offer in the market now, foreign and Mexican companies who are in this show. So this is mainly in the focus of, this is one of the biggest cement companies of the country. Cement, maybe.
Yes, oh yes. I know about them from the stock offering.
Raimundo Rivera, su servidor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
This is our stand with you.
Yes.
So
yes.
We're in honor to have you with us.
Hi. How are you?
This is our group mix.
Yes, I'm aware of it.
We are at this the largest plant we have in America. And in 12 months, it's going to be 90.
Sure.
Please, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Sir, it is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We really have a pleasure. This is our plant. We're going to be able to produce 3 million tons of cement for 1940 to 94. And it's one of the largest plants. We have the mill and all these things for the regulation of the pollution.
Very good. That's a very important aspect to clean that up.
We try to have
good.
This,
well, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Or even companies who are by their own American companies, for instance.
There's Dow Corning, right?
Already quite some years in Mexico.
They've been Dow has been here for quite a while.
Quite a long time.
I see. How are you?
Hello, sir. How are you?
How are you?
Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How are you feeling Mexico?
Very good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Delighted to be here.
We appreciate you taking the time to come in today.
Well, now how long is the show?
The show is for a week. And it gives Delta Faucet an opportunity to show U.S.-made goods that are being brought into Mexico to the Mexican construction companies. The nice thing is the reaction has been fantastic. This is the Delta booth. Our belief is, as we look at North America, as we look at Mexico, as we look at the oncoming NAFTA, this is the place to be, very much so.
Now, how much business have you done here in the past?
Well, this is our first year of operation. We'll do a little over $1 million of business this year.
That's great.
We figure this is about a $200 million market for us, where they love U.S. goods. What other place in the world would we go but Mexico right now?
Yeah, that's terrific. Now, are most of your sales in Mexico City, or are you getting around the country?
No, we're getting all over the country. We're in Guadalajara, Monterrey. We're up in Hermosillo. We are very strong in Mexico City right now, and growing.
And how are you marketing it? Through a local distributor, or
through distributor?
Okay, very good.
Two-step distribution on the Delta side. On the Peerless Faucet side, that goes direct to retail. Companies like Sears, Walmart, who are down here.
Yeah, in fact, I understand the shopping centers here, the American stores are really doing very well and selling a lot of American products.
They really are.
Now, what does this mean in jobs in Indianapolis?
In Indianapolis and in Chickasha, Oklahoma.
Yeah, very good. All right.
Home state.
Very good.
It means employment for us. It means we need more people working on our factory lines in the States. It also means that we're staffing up in Mexico, and the dollars are flowing both ways. So it's a great opportunity.
How do you answer the critics who say this is just going to send jobs to Mexico?
I think for us the proof is in the pudding. You know, we've added people on staff. It's keeping our factories at capacity, and we are competitive down here. There really is no great sucking sound down here.
Except sales.
Except sales.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Well, we're another U.S. company out of Kansas City.
In Kansas City.
And we're bringing down a lot of our construction tools down, and all of our diamond blades and abrasive blades, setting up new distribution throughout Mexico. So we're here also.
How long have you been here?
We've just started for the last, probably a year or so. So we're just trying to make inroads right now and set up a new distributor and educate the people here on our products.
Would most of your sales be through retail outlets or what?
Retail outlets and construction supply houses. So we're working on it with the help of the people at Group Intercom.
Good.
They're taking care of us down here.
Thank you.
It's another U.S. company that we represent.
Mm-hmm.
DSI down here.
Very good.
California.
Good. How are sales?
Starting to grow.
Good.
Setting up distribution.
There must be the feeling that there's going to be a lot of construction, a lot of
construction, and you're starting to have a lot of the like home centers open up down here too, that are bringing in a lot of different products to show. Because in the States, the home centers are for you do-it-yourselfers. Down here, it'll be a lot of the contractors using the home centers for their supplies.
Interesting.
There's also a lot of construction in the hotel market and in housing down here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a need for over 1 million houses down here in varying levels that we feel American products can fill that niche very well.
Good. There's not much do-it-yourself work here?
Well, just...
That's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Right now, it's more buy it yourself right now than do it yourself.
Yeah.
But do it yourself will come.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, there is a very large group of houses which is being done by people themselves, no? So they are in the small market, but they are buying a tremendous amount of products.
How would this fit into the President Salinas' solidarity program and rebuilding small?
Well, people is accustomed to build by their own management in a way, no? More than their own house, mainly by their own management. So they are very small buyers of products.
Right.
So the lines of retailers in the country is very large.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the main markets, for instance, in cement. From time to time, they think that probably they could take about 30 to 40% of the total production on cement. This very retailing market, because there is a tremendous amount of houses, probably 300,000 a year, are being done by this familiar administration. So all those products can run to this market, to this informal market.
I would think that this would be a much better market than European market. There's more growth.
So. And
it's
much
faster.
more friendly towards...
It's smaller but faster in a way.
Yeah. And there's a preference for American goods. Right?
Very strong.
Quite near in a way. So this gives an advantage on prices and
That's interesting.
They are custom.
Carlos, are we doing, is the Foreign Commercial Service doing anything particular working with the construction?
We're sponsoring Constructo 93 in Monterey, which is a show just for home building and construction materials. So this year,
When will that be?
That in November.
Okay. They're also being helpful with some of our products. There are NOMs codes that we need to meet, much as there are ANSI codes in the States. And Carlos has been helpful in helping us talk to the right people at Socofi so that our products do meet those standards so we can comply.
How many people do you employ in the United States?
At Delta or at Masco? At Delta, probably 3,000 to 4,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Masco's probably 30,000 to 40,000 people.
And how much is export a part of your business? Not just Mexico, but overall?
At Delta, probably 10% to 15% of our overall business is export and growing.
So the growth part of your business would be export?
We believe so. Very much so.
Bob, how about...
In the States, you're probably at 400 or 500. And down here, the group intercom people take care of all of our business here for us. Okay. They're our manufacturer reps.
Great.
So things are starting to happen down here. There's a lot of people are very curious and interested in the product. So we look forward to working more and more down
What
here.
does this do?
This cuts your concrete and your highways and your asphalt roads.
So this is for major.
patchwork
This is
stuff.
for major construction operations.
You have these for the ceramic tiles when they're setting all the tiles to cut them. Okay. And we have the smaller machines that are motorized. You know, the market right now leans more towards this type of item, the scoring machines, and we're bringing in now the motorized equipment with the diamond blades and the work with them.
What can we any of the American companies, what can we do that we're not doing to help you?
Well, that's a good question. I think certainly continued effort to have NAFTA pass will help us. My belief is, and our company's belief is, that with NAFTA, you'll see an emerging middle class, and with that middle class will come our sales. That's probably the single biggest thing that we can get.
Good. Hi, Aaron.
Mr. Good, our president.
Well, how are you?
How are you, sir?
Thank
It's
you
a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Wonderful show you're having.
Thank you, sir.
Great. We're just seeing some of these How are you? Seeing some of these American.
It's an honor for us. You just arrived, and so we are the first visited.
we have a lot that both countries can gain by this, and I'm a big believer that developing commercial interest is the best thing we can do. And when I was in Congress, I used to say, I was the ranking Democrat on the Trade Subcommittee, and I used to say, trade is the currency of peace. That if the more we trade with each other, the less likely we are to have problems. So,
no doubt.
So this is good.
Yes, and we can see here some companies which are product of new alliances between American and Mexican entrepreneurs to produce better things, to have a better relation.
We'll keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Let us know if we can help. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome to Mexico, sir, and the best of success.
Thank you. Thanks very much. How are you? You're... Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
On his third day in Mexico, the new U.S. ambassador paid a visit to the Mexican Foreign Ministry to present his credentials. Later that day, he attended a luncheon sponsored by the American Chamber of Commerce.
Maybe I think they want a picture from us. You're supposed to give
These, the first time, new experience.
Me da mucho gusto tenerlo en México. Bienvenido. Encantado. Muchas gracias.
Ambassador, this is Victor Barredo, head of Ford Motor Company here in Mexico.
How are you?
Mr. Ambassador, welcome to Mexico. Thank you very much. It's very nice meeting you.
How is business here?
Not as good as it used to be. Why? The economy has affected deeply the automotive industry. We're down down about 14-15% so far from last year. Credit has been very scarce. Payment charge almost non-existent.
How much is manufacturing and assembly?
We assemble every vehicle that we sell in Mexico. We're importing only 2,000 to 3,000 units per year right now. We export about 130,000 units to the United States, but we import components for another 150,000 units. So we're sort of balanced in our foreign exchange situation. We are balanced. In fact, we have a little surplus. And we have even bigger surplus this year because the industry is down, and so we're not importing as much as we were before. But the industry seems to have...
What do you see about the economy here coming back to sell more automobiles?
I like to be optimistic and say that we have touched bottom. The months of July and August have been steady in the bottom, a pretty rocky bottom, but we're there. The biggest problem that we had was just to eat up, to digest the big inventories that we had at the rate that we were going. But now we're stabilized. We believe that the industry at the end of the year is going to be probably 8 to 10% below last year, which is not too bad. And we are hoping for a recovery at the end of this year. And we're projecting a growth of maybe 7-8% by next year, which is not bad.
Well, I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, sir. Nice. Welcome to Mexico. I apologize for not being able to make it to the dinner the American Chamber will offer tomorrow. I'm one of the directors of the Chamber. But tomorrow is the new model presentation day, so I'll have all my dealers in town.
You're going to get plenty business.
He's got to make his salary.
So when did you all arrive?
Tuesday.
Wow.
Tuesday afternoon. It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah. I bet.
Getting here, being here.
How's the altitude treating you, okay?
Have you noticed it? I haven't noticed it at all.
No, good. Not at all. It's been lovely.
Matter of fact,
Haven't tried, though.
Yeah, I've never had any trouble. The only time, as a matter of fact, everybody says the pollution in Mexico City, and it's obviously not good, but out of all the times I've come here, only last April when I gave a speech here was the only time it ever affected me. And certainly can't complain about it since we've been here.
No, we've had pretty excellent days.
Pretty excellent days, yeah. Beautiful.
How long have you been here with American Express?
I've been here 5 years with American Express. It'll be 5 years in March, but I was here before in 81 to 83 during that period of time.
You've been here already 5 years again?
Yeah, it'll be 5 years in March. I know, time flies.
Time
Sure it does,
yeah, it really does.
Well, we've been long time card carriers there. I can't get what it is.
This is a man to know. This is the
But I
man to
we
know.
were having dinner with Harvey Gallivan. I said, this platinum thing, there's some good things, but so the next thing I know, we're platinum, gold, platinum, and it's useful.
Well, good. Well, we just launched that card here, and we've had an outstanding success. We thought we would get about several thousand card members by the end of the year. We have 7,000 in 2 months. So that shows you how the market.
The rest of the business for American Express here.
The business is good. It's not as good as 2 years ago, but
Is that because of the overall economy?
because of the overall economy and the slowdown. But I think our collections from accounts has had an issue to do with it also. But it's better than it was last year, but it still has a ways to go. Our travel business is doing very well. The card business is the largest business here we have. This is the largest subsidiary outside the United States. We make more money here than elsewhere. The travel business has grown about 18% this year, which in a market where travel is very flat, it's very positive.
Well, I want to hear about this. This is beautiful.
Oh, isn't it lovely? Yeah, this is a local artist here that does these ties, and it's actually a gift. I have one in blue, one in brown, one in red, and this type of thing. It's very.
Well, you find her name.
I
Drop
will.
it to me.
I will because
This is my one great function in life. I am the purchasing agent for all neckties for all Joneses, and all we have in our family are boys.
How many boys do you have?
2 sons.
2 sons. And the big boy.
And the big boy.
You're the queen of the house.
Ambassador James Jones presented his credentials to Mexican President Carlos Salinas on Friday, September 10th. Following his meeting with the president, Ambassador Jones talked to reporters. Later that day, he laid a wreath at a monument to Mexican heroes who had defended their country during the U.S.-Mexican War. And following that, he visited a large shopping center where he asked about U.S. products being sold. Finally, that evening, he met with U.S. businessmen at an American Chamber of Commerce dinner.
Mr. Ambassador, several days ago, you spoke during your testimony to the U.S. Congress, and the impression that a lot of people in Mexico got is that you were coming down here to supervise somewhat the behavior of the Mexican government, how the Mexican government conducts business, and this didn't leave a very good impression on the majority of the Mexican people. What is your opinion on this? What do you have to say about
Well,
this?
I would say, first of all, that in my oral testimony before the Senate committee, I don't think it could be misinterpreted that I was coming down here as a supervisor. I was very clear and am very clear that I come down here at a very mature time in the relationship between the United States and Mexico to build on a stronger partnership between our countries so that the leadership of both countries can provide leadership around the world in terms of opening trade, in terms of developing democracies, in terms of alliances between developing and developed countries. I think that is a very important thing, and I'm here to build a partnership.
Mr. Ambassador, does Mexico have a...
Por favor, ¿me permites responder primero? En primer término, quiero decir que durante el testimonio oral que yo di al Senado de los Estados Unidos, creo que no puede interpretarse de ninguna manera el que yo hubiera dicho que venía a supervisar alguna cosa aquí en México. En esa oportunidad fue muy claro y quiero ser muy claro también en esta oportunidad. Nosotros, México y los Estados Unidos, tenemos una relación madura y mi misión es seguir construyendo con la base de esta buena relación que existe entre nuestros dos países para llegar a una asociación todavía mucho más fortalecida. Yo creo que bajo el liderazgo de nuestros dos países podemos nosotros tomar también esa dirección, ese liderazgo dentro del mundo para promover mucho más el comercio, la democracia y también las alianzas benéficas entre los países desarrollados y los países en vías de desarrollo.
Mr. Ambassador, does Mexico have a responsibility to help curb migration to the United States, illegal migration to the United States? And if so, what is the extent of that responsibility?
La pregunta es si México tiene alguna responsabilidad con respecto a frenar la inmigración ilegal hacia los Estados Unidos y cuál sería precisamente esa responsabilidad.
Migration, both legal and illegal, is not just a bilateral problem. It is a global problem that we are seeing in all parts of the world, Europe, Asia, and the Western Hemisphere. I think all nations, including the United States and Mexico, have an obligation to develop policies to deal with the question of global migration. And one of the areas that I hope over time to assist with in working with the Mexican government is to develop our own bilateral policies as well as multilateral policies in this area.
What about the letter from Mr.
Permítame, por favor, si eres tan amable. El fenómeno de la migración, tanto legal como ilegal, no es algo que se dé únicamente a nivel bilateral, sino que se da en todo el mundo. Es algo que estamos viendo nosotros en Europa, en Asia y también en nuestro propio hemisferio, el hemisferio occidental. Yo creo que todos los países, incluyendo a los Estados Unidos y a México, deben unirse para, en el caso nuestro, desarrollar algunas políticas bilateral y también multilateral para hacer frente a este fenómeno. Yo espero, precisamente durante mi estancia aquí, el poder colaborar y trabajar con México para poder llegar a conformar una política bilateral al respecto.
Por la mañana parece, la esposa de Clinton habló de que sería mejor, o ella dijo que sería mejor que se apoyara más fuertemente su plan de salud que el TLC. ¿De qué manera podría influir en los lazos familiares de Clinton para que se apoyara primero el plan de salud de la señora Clinton que el TLC? Y si sería una opción primero para el gobierno.
This morning, Hillary Clinton, the wife of President Clinton, said that she would favor, rather presented to Congress first her own health care program instead of the Nafta. Up to what point do you think that the familiar ties of Mrs. Clinton with the President of the United States will have an influence so that the health care plan the U.S. health care plan is presented before Congress before the Nafta?
But let me say first that both the President and Mrs. Clinton are totally committed to the passage of NAFTA. One misconception that seems to have developed is that the Congress and the administration can only handle one issue at a time. The fact of the matter is that both health care and NAFTA can be dealt with in the Congress this year, and I expect them to be so.
By statements such as that of California Governor Peter Wilson, who said that immigration must be curbed in one way or another, and also to what point this is also hampered by the violent actions by Border Patrol agents against undocumented Mexicans along the border.
Well, as I think I've said before, I think we have a mature relationship, our two countries. And that means that we need to compartmentalize problems and work on problems individually without having those individual problems spilling over and hurting our entire relationship. Without question, the migration issue, both bilaterally and globally, is a problem that our two countries have to work on, and it's something we will do as time goes on. This is not the time and place to be dealing with that. Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of your help.
Ahorita no sé
Procede a hacer el depósito de una ofrenda floral y efectuar una guardia de honor ante el altar a los defensores de la patria.
Señoras y señores, como homenaje a la memoria de los héroes que nos dieron patria y libertad, escucharemos el toque de silencio.
A continuación, el licenciado Gerardo González Camarena invita atentamente al excelentísimo señor embajador de los Estados Unidos de América a pasar a firmar el libro de visitantes distinguidos de este altar a los defensores de la patria.
Señoras y señores, se ha finalizado esta significativa ceremonia. Despedimos con profundo afecto de este sitio al excelentísimo señor James R. Jones.
Muchísimas gracias.
Buenas tardes. Gracias.
This store is what we call a hypermarket. Hypermarket for us is a store that has a full supermarket. It has the general merchandise and the soft goods all under one roof. This has been the concept that has developed in Mexico for 35 years ago.
So if you have this total shopping center, does this interfere or compete with a specialty?
It will compete with a specialty in the supermarket, with the soft goods and the general merchandise.
But they're all here.
They're all here, and the customer loves the thing of buying all in the same roof.
Sure.
And that is something that has happened here in the country for many years. We have, if you want us to, we'll walk down.
You lead the way here.
All right. We have a full supermarket of soft brand. We have also imported items. Some exhibited in a special area, some, as you will see, in the other normal stands of
How are imports? How do imports fare here, particularly U.S. imports?
I think that when Mexico opened its economy 4 or 5 years ago, we started little by little, and some imports started coming, some from the Orient, some from the U.S. I think today we are finding that supplying merchandise from the U.S. is a far easier and more reliable source than sometimes importing for the Orient. And there's where we see products like popcorn. I mean, it's incredible. A few years ago, all of these products were not be able to import into Mexico. And we sell tons of those popcorns and the coffee and the things that the Mexican consumer like. We are also importing some products from Europe. But as you can see, the great majority, I would say probably 70% of what we're importing in this type of products is normally American products.
Is that right? 70%?
And even though we have, for instance, products like Ajax or Fab that are locally manufactured, there are some specialty detergents that we're importing which are not being manufactured here. So this gives us a much broader variety for our consumer.
It certainly is a large operation.
Oh yes, yes, it's very large, and of course we have all the general merchandise products, which is not as important. We are importing products like you'll see the vital care type of items, which are, some of them are, as you can see here, this is the national jojoba conditioner, a product made in the U.S. and
very good.
I have to check it out. If you want us to just go by the supermarket first and without taking too much. Oh, here you go.
I wanted to show you this wonderful.
This is my favorite.
From Napoli. Did you know it's made in Columbus, Ohio?
Oh, sure.
You have the Welch product. You have some of our generic brands. Some of the English muffins from Americo. The Eggo brand from Kellogg. The toast. All of this is today basically imported. The volume is not as high yet in Mexico, so most of it is being imported from the U.S. But it's amazing. I mean, this line, as I say, 4 years ago, was non-existent.
Now, are microwaves selling more in Mexico now?
Oh, far more.
So that's very important.
There's a huge market. You see the Vicks donuts and Latino's pizzas and so forth. So really, we're even, which sounds rather ridiculous, we're even importing tacos from the U.S.
Somebody told me Taco Bell is doing great.
I'll show you one of the, well, of course, there's the hamburgers, but I'm sure that we'll find some
tacos?
Some tacos made in California, which, of course, is not.
That's right. ¿Cómo está? Now, do I understand correctly that...
For instance, Tyson products.
That's down in Arkansas.
That's in Arkansas.
That's near my home country in Oklahoma. They're up in northwest Arkansas.
A lot of those.
Now, do I understand correctly that...
It's the ultimate.
Yeah.
From Louisiana?
Tabasco, yeah.
Tabasco sauce from Louisiana. It's amazing. I understood that as Mexico moved to a free market economy, that there were disruptions, and you were saying the middle class was hit hardest, but they're coming out of that now and they're increasing their purchasing power?
That is very true. I think the middle class and the lower class was probably the hardest hit during the bad years from 83 to 89 or so. But I think they are recuperating, and we're seeing it in the consumption. We're seeing that they have the possibility of purchasing more and more products. So we're happy to see that, and we see a...
You know, when yesterday we were at a trade show in the construction trades, first company I ran into was Delta Faucets, and another company that's manufacturing in Illinois. So they were in Kansas City, Illinois, and they were selling lots of products here in Mexico. And a lot of people don't know in the United States that for manufactured goods in the United States, the second largest customer is Mexico.
I honestly think that the consumer good products, there's no question that the U.S. is really the leader worldwide.
Yeah.
Because you have the best products at the lowest possible prices. And those are the products that are coming here. And And as soon as our countrymen have the purchasing power, that is the product they will buy the most. And this is where we're seeing the big change.
Yeah.
Some years back, probably our sales were only 2% of imported products. Today, they're almost 10 and 12%. In some of our divisions, they go as high as 40%. In the club, Sam's Club operation, almost 40% is import.
Now, how long have you had this joint venture with Walton's?
We've been operating
with
them
Walmart
for a year and a half now, since we started. And we're doing tremendous, have a huge program of growth in our stores. So it's been very successful. Here are the tacos that we were talking about.
Really?
Which I say, sometimes I find it, I don't know as this one's exactly, but some of them
that's great.
Are manufactured in
these are
the burritos also. Burritos are also
Sure.
So this is what, again.
Well, that's the way the world's going.
That's kind of the way it will be going. Beef taquitos.
Yeah. That's great.
There's chicken taquitos and so forth.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's quite an operation you have here.
We are the largest retailers in Mexico. We do over almost $5 billion. We have 37,000 people working with us.
37,000?
This area also in beef. For many years, Mexico was closed to beef imports. Today, we are receiving a good amount of beef from the U.S. And we are getting a lot of imported products in our restaurant division, where we're buying the box meat cut exactly to the specifications of our restaurants, and we're buying over $8 million a year just of beef and chicken products.
Just in our
restaurant division.
Oh, in the restaurant division. Interesting.
Which in the past we practically imported nothing.
That's interesting.
But those are the options that we're
that's great. This has been fascinating.
I don't want to take your time.
Well, I'm going to have to. I have a meeting at the embassy, but I've got to get my wife out of the shopping here. Olivia, I've got a meeting at the embassy, so you're going to have to shop later. Do you have any money?
Very nice having you here.
Mr. Davis, thank you very much. Very impressive operation.
If anything I can do for you, please let me know, and I'll let you know about that opening.
We have to go back to Washington the 16th to the 26th, but we will be back here and
be in contact with your office and let you know.
Okay, thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Very impressive operation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Wesley, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you.
Hi, Ali Yankel from Exxon. Very nice to meet you.
How are you?
Hi, Ken Schwell, American Soybean Association.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tom Howe,
Yeah.
Mexico.
How are you?
Hi, welcome to Mexico. Javier Teruel from COVID.
Good to meet. Hello again. Yes, good to see you. Yeah. Fellow lawyer.
Robert Salvatore, Xerox.
Good to see you.
Claude Solomon, Procter & Gamble.
You're doing a great job on NAFTA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador.
P&G. Do you know Dave Elliott?
Of course, I know. He's written you a popular note, too.
Yeah. He's doing a terrific job.
Barbara Solano from the
Yes.
That's from Kip Smith, Dow Chemical.
Yep.
Chuck
Good to see you, Chuck.
Yesterday.
Pretty Jordan.
Yes.
Coca-Cola bottle.
Heard a lot about you. All good. You have friends that lie a lot.
Coincidentally, the day that you were being reconfirmed, we were as tourists going through Congress.
Oh, really?
And I heard that you were being reconfirmed, so we dashed down to the meeting. We had to wait outside in line. And I finally asked the person that said, is Ambassador Jones being questioned? Oh, no, they already asked him 5 questions. Now they're on the Peruvian ambassador.
It was a nice little love-in. I enjoyed that.
So
they were very kind to me.
The Mexicans got a little bit bent out of shape here.
Well, actually, not from the hearing. I mean, I went from the questions.
Yeah.
The hearing, I got great reviews, and then 2 days later, to the written questions,
So I said that I went from walking on water to the keeper of the gates of hell. But that's politics.
That is, but you got experience in that.
Absolutely.
You'll take care of that.
It's turning around.
Did you meet the president this morning?
We had a very good ceremony. We had a pretty long visit for that, I'd say, wouldn't you? And
it's good. Quite a dynamic person.
He really is. I've had a number of meetings with him in the past. Maybe a half dozen.
But you were down here with the American Stock Exchange last year, weren't you?
I was here with the Stock Exchange probably 3 or 4 times, and I think I met with him every time in the last 3 years. And then a small group of us from the Council on Foreign Relations were here. Met with him, and one other occasion, I guess. Marty Feldstein, who's on my board, and I met with him also. So.
Yeah, Marty was down on Monday.
Yeah, he
at the bankers convention in Puerto Vallarta.
I told him he'd come stay with us, but I'm not getting here till Tuesday, so it'll be a rain check. Hello. Let's see. Do you have a red wine? Tinto? Sí. How are you doing?
Very good. Bob Campbell from the Chamber. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. How are you?
Many Americans I am.
Yes.
Good to meet you.
Who's your CEO and George? Is George?
George Sala is the board of directors.
But he was
just retired.
Just retired. I was on the Equitable board with George, and he is a terrific guy. Very most incisive guy I've seen in a while.
Art Costello just took his place.
Who did?
Art Costello.
Oh, really? That's right.
As a matter of fact, I was going to. Sala is going to be here with the full board of directors October 21st.
Really? I hope I can see you.
I'm planning a dinner, so I'm going to try to get in touch with you.
I would love to.
Send an invitation.
I'm a big fan of George Sala, so I would look forward.
We're going to have a dinner with government people. People from the industry and the American Chamber.
How is business here?
A little tough.
Really? Because the economy in general, or the ability
the economy, basically.
But penetrating the market is not. It's
pretty slow. We're very lucky with the pharmaceutical. Our main business here is pharmaceutical.
Oh, really?
And that's doing very well.
Well, I look forward to working with you. And seriously, if I could be there on the 21st, I'd love to.
I'd love to have you.
Great. Thank you. Jack, how are you? Hi. Hi.
Very nice to meet you and welcome to Mexico.
Bob used to be our second person in USIS, and he retired here in Mexico, yeah.
Is that right? How long ago?
About a year ago now.
And what are you doing now?
I'm working with Burson Marsteller.
Oh, sure.
When you have a chance, please come by.
Is Jody Powell still with Burston?
No, he's not. Yes, he's somewhere else. He's not with us. We just hired Pierre Salinger, though.
Really? Is he staying in Paris?
No, he's going to come to Washington and be worldwide vice president.
Is that right?
So we're happy to have him aboard. If we get him to Mexico, I hope we can get both of you together at some point.
Love to see him again. It's been many years.
Well, I don't know if he's any bigger, but he's he's older.
Aren't we all? That's right. Whether we like it or not.
Have you visited Mexico a lot in your...
The first time was back in 1965, and I'd been at the White House about 2 months. I was out of law school, 25 years of age, and the president called me down to the ranch and said he wants to go to Mexico for his first foreign trip as president, and to go down and set it up. So I came trundling down here, and here I was.
You can challenge the USIS guys to see if they can find those pictures. You'll drive them crazy.
Well, I'm sure that the LBJ library will have them.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Now, how am I going to keep this from getting all over my suit? But that's all right.
You have to use a napkin.
You're experienced at this?
Let me put this in here for just.
I guess that you probably don't find too many people in government here who were in government at the time you.
No, and the thing, I've been coming to Mexico off and on since that time. In the last 4 years, when I'm chairman of the American Stock Exchange, one of the strategic initiatives I put in place was to expand business in Mexico, Chile, and Argentina, and hopefully, I think the whole hemisphere is going to be connected financially at some point, and an exchange like the American or some stock exchange will be a good catalyst for this. So I've been down here a lot in the last 4 years, and the thing that really amazes me and I won't go into the details of the way things worked 28 years ago between government and everything else, but it's just it's a night and day difference now. And excuse me.
Peter Bucher with PPG. It's a pleasure.
How are you?
Welcome to Mexico.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
It's a treasure. I just got back from the border, so I'm a little...
Really? From where?
Well, I was up in Monterrey, Saltillo, and Nuevo Laredo, trying to earn a living. So us board members do that in our spare time.
Okay. What were you doing there? What do you have?
We work with General Motors. Chrysler's putting a plant up in that area. So we're doing some prospecting. We have to make a little investment up there to be in shape. And then we service some maquiladoras also. So we're going to put a couple things together. It's good to have you down here. I've been here about 2.5, going on 3 years. And have some interesting things working on, Mr. We'll have to talk later.
All right, I'd like to. Okay, great.
Well, my practice has been here in Mexico. I'm from Texas originally. But
really?
Spent the last 42 years here in Mexico.
Is that right? Now, are you retired, or are you doing...
I retired from Walt Sabrina Company after 30 years, and then went back to practicing law. I was on management with Purina, and now I'm of counsel with a local Mexican law firm.
Does Purina have a manufacturing facility here?
Oh, yeah. Quite a few.
Really?
10 plants.
Now, do you...
Animal feed primarily.
Solely for Mexican market?
Yes.
So you don't export from there?
And I haven't been there for a while, but they're importing cereals now for human consumption.
Oh, really?
Baby food.
From where? States?
No, we could never export to the United States because the cost of grain was ingredient too high. Ya lo pedí, gracias.
Well, I'm delighted and excited about the challenge.
How are you? Hi, John. How are you?
Have you met the
Yes, I certainly
Sure
have.
you did. Let me just
I
get
saw
my
the
one.
interview today, and your Spanish was absolutely incredible. Really, very, very good.
It's not. I took Spanish in college 32 years ago, but I can read it, and
yeah, but I watched you, and you weren't reading anything.
No.
You were ad-libbing fantastically well. Really.
Well, I thank you. I decided in the questions I wasn't going to take some of the more difficult questions and try to do it in Spanish, because what I haven't gotten accustomed to yet are the various nuances, and there's a lot of, I'm still doing a lot of literal translation. And I thought, the Mexican press will, in your early stages, look for ways to drive it, to trip you. And so I just thought, until I'm more confident, I won't do that, but I decided to ad-lib a little bit anyway.
No, I thought it went extremely well. The one thing I find, I mean, I have no experience with, in press meetings of that type, but I always find that the Mexican press physically gets so close to you. I don't know whether, what they have in mind, but...
they were pressing up, and I almost, my leg went asleep trying to stand upright.
But does that bother you compared, I mean, to have sort of a more respectable distance?
I had a couple of times there today they got too close, and I just shoved them back.
What you have to do is you start speaking up.
Maybe I'll back up.
Welcome.
I thank you.
May you have a very pleasant and rewarding tour of duty here.
We're certainly here at interesting times.
During his first week in Mexico, Ambassador Jones attended a dedication of a statue of Martin Luther King, Jr. Addressing the participants were Coretta Scott King, former Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young, and the Mayor of Mexico City.
En este sitio, al señor licenciado Manuel Camacho Solís, a la señora Coretta King.
We would like to ask kindly everyone to take their places. In just a few seconds, we will be receiving the proceeding of the Camacho Solís, Mayor of the city, and Mrs. Coretta King.
Oh, really? Pardon me? What's your TikTok?
Que por propio derecho es dirigente de nuestro movimiento de derechos sociales, la señora Coretta Luther King.
Thank you, my brother, Andrew Young, to Mayor Camacho Solis, to all the officials of the Mexican government, Mr. Jesse Hill, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change, and the Honorable Andrew J. Young, Board of Directors member of the King Center and international advisor, and to all our distinguished guests who have assembled today for this very historic and momentous occasion. I'm honored to be here today as the guest of your great country and to participate in this dedication and tribute to the life and work of Martin Luther King, Jr. It has been a privilege to share fellowship with the Mexican people whose kindness and hospitality I shall always remember. Over the years, I have traveled to many nations to explain my husband's philosophy of nonviolent social change and the ideals of freedom, justice, and peace for all people, to which he dedicated his life. Like many Americans, I have visited this beautiful nation as a tourist, but as president of the King Center in Atlanta, I've often wished that one day there would be an opportunity to come here and share Martin Luther King Jr.'s message of nonviolence with my Mexican sisters and brothers. Thank you for making my dream come true. And I am so proud to be here on this occasion, and I am gratified, Mr. Mayor, by your presence and all of the officials and wonderful people who have come here today. And certainly you have lifted up the vibrant legacy of Martin Luther King Jr.'s teachings, an example before millions of your countrymen. In recent years, the strategy of nonviolent social change developed by Martin Luther King Jr. has inspired movements for justice and liberty in the distant corners of the world, from Poland to the Philippines, from Russia to South Africa, to name just a few. The anthem of the civil rights struggle, "We Shall Overcome," is being sung by liberation movements in many languages and nations. This is appropriate because my husband was deeply committed to creating what he called the World House, where people of all races, religions, and nations could find a way to live together in peace and harmony. He believed that nonviolence was the key to empowerment of all people in their struggles for human rights, democracy, and social justice. In dedicating this statue, honoring my husband's life and work, we therefore commit ourselves to a new era of solidarity of the people of Mexico and the United States in the spirit of nonviolence. We pledge our unshakable dedication to fulfilling his dream of a beloved community with freedom, justice, and peace for all humanity. With this faith and this commitment, together we shall overcome.
That concludes our coverage of the new U.S. Ambassador to Mexico. Please send any comments to the American Embassy in Mexico City. Post Office Box 3087, Laredo, Texas. The zip code is 78044-3087.